Well, here we go with another bombshell, Steve. People will say, you know, this JT guy, he's so full of hot air. Well, goodness. The hot air is one of the principles of gravity and why things rise, and so is inertial propulsion. What happened along the way to the farm one day is, again, I have a team of associates and engineers that I work with. One of the teams built an inertial propulsion device, and I talk about this in the book. In fact, they built several. The bombshell thing is they put the device on a bicycle, Steve, and somebody got on that bicycle and started pedaling, and they went up. And there were no wings and no propellers anywhere.
Now, just a red flag here. Wasn't there a movie with E.T., I think, where they show the same thing happening in the movie?
Well, yes and no. The difference being that E.T., the little guy from space, used some magical property to elevate them. I've reduced that to hard science of a mechanical device that you pedal that causes you to go up in the air, and its level of efficiency and performance is thousands of times better than rockets and jets, Steve.
Well, a technology like this could solve our problems today with the problems we've got with automobiles, could it not?
Well, certainly that, but imagine if you were some billionaire rocketeer, and there seem to be a lot of them these days. Wouldn't you rather put your money into something that is safe and sound and practical? The inertial propulsion drive has thousands of times greater propulsion capability than any rocket or any jet, and is far safer. And we want the public to hear this, to know that for whatever reason this information is not available for some reason to these wealthy people who are making horrible decisions about the future of mankind based on rockets, Steve.
Well, who are the hoaxsters out there that they're listening to? Because obviously these people are great salesmen, great marketeers of an obsolete technology, and they are the ones who need to be cast aside or cast stones at.
We're opening Pandora's box, Steve. The hoaxsters are literally in the millions. You could say the entire NASA operation is the greatest hoaxer organization in the world because they continue to peddle rockets, and they have been the way showers for the world, NASA and people like them, saying that rockets is the way we're going to go, and that's all they presented to people. And of course, all the come-alongs, all the Johnny-come-latelys, whoever they may be, have continued to peddle the rocket technology to the billionaires. The Johnny-come-latelys have peddled the idea that, excuse me, they've peddled other ideas that are just obsolete, quite honestly.
Well, it sounds like these colorful stories have no merit.
Well, to people's mind, they have merit. People go out and they see a rocket, they see a plane, and they say, well, what's wrong with that? It works. What's wrong with all that is the Chinese flew rockets 2,000 years ago. You would think that in 2,000 years, we all would have made a little more progress in terms of technology, better technology for a better tomorrow that would advance us well beyond rockets. And what people are hearing me say today, and I'm one of the only people saying it, is yes, in fact, and indeed, there is better technology, more practical technology. You and I could say that people like you and me are being suppressed by the media. You could say we're being suppressed by the government, who keep it in their interest to keep the public from knowing about better technology. So there's a whole element there of suppression. And then, of course, you have billionaires out there who are listening to popular people giving colorful stories. I used to work for people like that who gave billionaires colorful stories that the billionaires were found very entertaining. A lot of these colorful stories, Steve, are very entertaining to the wealthy, and they overlook the fact that there's anything behind it other than they were entertained and enjoyed the presentations.
Well, that's about as far as it could go, because these presentations that they come up with, there's no way they can prove them and they can make them a reality. They're pretty much just stories that they concocted.
Again, we're opening so many Pandora's boxes here. What I've found out there is that if you have a real pretty presentation, lots of graphics, lots of nice music, and you talk quite a tale, and you tell the world that your technology is tied into crop circles and that you're having conversations with beings from other worlds, then a lot of people really like that sort of thing.
That I understand. My travels in Shasta and Ashland, Oregon, where there are many people who claim a lot of unearthly phenomena that's either occurred to them or around them. Some of those people in those circles happen to be some of these so-called inventors as well that I've heard about, heard names of, and whether either you mentioned them or I've read about them. And I'm pretty much an observer of my experiences. And when I came away in my experiences, that many of these individuals were not who they said they were, and a lot of these things that they were professing had no merit whatsoever. So I kind of shied away from them, knowing that they were charlatans. But I find it humorous at this point, and sad at the same time, that I see them making a lot of money traveling around the world to do different speaking engagements. Some might even go as far as Cambridge University to speak to tenured scientists and professors. And I say to myself, my God, I mean, for someone to do that knowing that what they're talking about isn't possible, that's a lot of BW, well, you know what I'm trying to say. That's a lot of moxie.
Yes, it is. It's the way people are. Let's talk about what we call mindset or brainwashing a little bit, Steve, if we may.
Sure.
Well, again, what I did is I opened the door with the bombshells here. The mindset of the day, the scientific mindset of the day, Newtonian physics, the thermodynamic laws. The engineers, scientists go to school, they learn this. It creates a mindset, Steve. The media creates a mindset to the populations that the scientists are right, that they're smart, they must know what they're talking about. And so when science in the world accepts a principle, gravity as it's taught, Newtonian, laws of thermodynamics, and then somebody like me comes along and starts talking a different language, we start to say, my goodness, we have devices with COP greater than 1. Look, we can build an inertial propulsion device, put it on a bicycle, pedal and go straight up in the air and change the entire world with that technology. Well, this stuff, this type of material that I'm describing, talking about, sounds so foreign to people because they've been fed a diet of lies for so long by their schools, by their scientists, by their churches, by their governments. The case in point, the world, the churches, the governments peddling the flat earth for so long, there's precedent to what I'm saying. My position is solid. It's backed up 100% by history. People say that, their methods are scientific. Well, what scientific method did anybody use that proved the world was flat that has stood up to this day? Obviously, all the scientific method that proved the world was flat was totally wrong, totally false, as is the same thing today with the laws of thermodynamics, the laws that say we will never go faster than the speed of light, another scientific boondoggle. Steve, there's another bombshell for you. So what we're talking about is people's mindset, people's brainwashing, and how they got that way.
Well, I think the media plays a big part in that. They pretty much spoon feed you with nonsense 101, I'll call it, and expect you, because you don't read enough, you don't investigate enough, you don't question enough, that you'll accept it without question.
Well, let me run some of this mindset by you for a minute. It's something I've encountered with investors and people, and I think we need to put the light of the spotlight on the kind of thinking. People say, well, what's the holdup? What's the problem? I'd like to say something about that, Steve.
Well, go right ahead, Jerry.
Well, the idea is then again, if you have the mindset that the law of thermodynamics is correct, this and that, or Newton's laws, and so forth and so on. So you walk in the door, investor that you are, or scientist that you are, you walk in the door with the attitude that since these things, free energy, are not possible, you're there to prove it is a hoax because your sacred laws of science say that it's not possible. Therefore, the only conclusion that you, so-called educated and intelligent people, can come to is that it must be a hoax because we certainly cannot violate any of the sacred laws of science. So what I've encountered with many so-called experts, many so-called investors, is they're always trying to prove these things wrong, that they must be hoaxes because of the violation of the laws of science. And by the way, every airplane flying today is in fact violating the sacred law of gravity.
Well, that's a very good point that you make, because an invention like that would have never come to being if someone didn't challenge the powers that be at that given time.
Well, what I'm saying here is complete and utter foolishness on the part of many of the people of this world. I call it the blind leading the blind, Steve. I looked just on the internet today, and it's staggering how much private funding is going into private rocket companies. And of course, where's a dime for the inertial propulsion company? I have a project, Steve. Can I talk to you a little bit about my dream project for a minute?
Yes, go right ahead.
I call my project the Enterprise Orbital, and this would give the Star Trekky sci-fi buffs wet dreams, Steve. What I say, let's do a real project. I say, let's do a real project. Let's get the Star Wars characters. What's his name, Steve? Mr. Star Wars guy, the guy that made billions of dollars on fantasy Star Wars. What is that, George Lucas?
George Lucas, yes.
Let's get these people that have made fortunes on fantasy, Star Trek, people. What if we were to have a project where I put an inertial propulsion drive into a shuttlecraft, and we actually took that craft into space, and we called it the Enterprise Orbital, Steve. Hey, a real device based on more advanced technology than rockets and jets. And then we created a reality TV series based on the building of that device, putting it into orbit, talk about a whole new paradigm, Steve. And then we continue to advance that to the Enterprise Lunar, where we went to the moon, and then the Enterprise Solar, where we explored the solar system. And then finally, Steve, we worked up to the real deal, the Starship Enterprise.